Hey, this is pharmacist Curtis Alexander. In this video, I'm going to talk about iron and how it ties into your gut health. And the reason that I'm covering this, it came about in a comment on a video I did regarding a supplement used for depression called Canna. And I said in the beginning of that, I'm like, if you're looking at depression, any sort of mood disorder, you have to start with your gut health because it's so critical to your neurotransmitters. And in our medical field, we tend to look at prescription drugs and supplements as a first answer instead of addressing that gut health component. And a viewer said, well, how do we address our gut health component? It's a huge, complex subject, so I'm going to start by chipping away at different individual things you can do, and that's why I want to talk about iron. So the first thing to know is that you have essentially a nervous system that's tied to your intestines. It's called the enteric nervous system. And not a lot of people know, for example, most of your serotonin, like 90+% of your serotonin, is actually produced by this nervous system in your intestine. And it talks with your brain, essentially. That's why your gut is called your second brain. Okay, now, for example, with serotonin, we talked in that video about Canna. Canna is what's believed to be a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it inhibits your body from taking serotonin back into the system, recycling it, and so the blood levels rise. The same thing happens with prescription medications like Prozac and Zoloft, and I've got some videos on those. So it begs the question, if these drugs are increasing serotonin, which is produced in your gut, there may be something going on with the gut health, and iron plays a role in that. So instead of throwing drugs and supplements at it, let's address the root cause, which is the gut health. So iron levels in this country, in America, it's generally considered that, people's iron levels are too low. They need to be higher. And I think the opposite is most likely true. I think we have too much iron in our diet, and because of some other things that I'll talk about in a second, and that most likely we need to have lower levels of iron. And why do I say that? Okay, so let's look at females. They take birth control, which contains iron in a lot of cases. More and more women are having trouble with their periods, so they're not having monthly menstruation, so they're holding on to their blood, essentially. And then in both men and women, we have an issue with copper levels. Magnesium deficiency is huge in this country. So we have these mineral deficiencies, and then this one is huge. Look at our diet in this country. Most of it is fortified with iron. Cereal, you can use a magnet and pick up a lot of different cereals because of the actual iron content in the body. So unless you've been diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia or something along those lines, my guess would be that we need less iron in our body, not more. And I'm not saying that iron isn't essential. It is. We need it. We just get too much of it, I believe. It's one of the things we get too much of. The other thing that we can see is when you get too much iron, and studies have shown this, is that you see an increase in bad bacteria like E. coli and Staphylococcus aureus. You see a drop in good bacteria, two of which are Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium. Now, these may ring a bell because they're very popular in probiotics. So if you're having any sort of gut issues and you're experiencing something, mood disorders, depression, iron would probably be a great place to start as far as getting your iron levels a little lower. So the question becomes, if you feel and your doctor feel that maybe this is a good first step, how do you go about it? If you're a woman and you're menstruating and you're not menopausal, that will help. If you can still donate blood, it may be wise to donate blood anywhere from 1 to 3 times a year, even if you're menstruating. Not in every case. If you're menopausal, I think regular blood donations would be wise. I donate blood. I just started doing it, I don't know, it's probably been 3-4 months ago. I'm curious to see how I feel moving forward, but I do it every 8 weeks. I think that's a great first step, depending on your particular situation. So donating blood. The next thing you need to do is stop adding to the problem, which is stop, eating foods that are adding iron to your system. And again, these iron fortified foods, we are talking breads, we're talking cereals, we're talking pasta. Basically anything in a box you want to be very careful with, because you're probably getting extra iron. And the next thing you can do, this is what gets a lot of people in trouble, is we want to add other mineral-rich foods, not supplements. I can't tell you how many times I get people coming to me and they're like, I went to a natural health practitioner and they gave them, the other day I literally had a gal show me 15 or 16 supplements that she takes every month that her natural health provider gave to her. And I say that in quotes because as a natural health provider, they should know how critical it is to not just add on individual minerals and vitamins, because it affects the balance, it affects the levels of those other minerals. So you can't do that willy-nilly. You're going to introduce other problems. And iron is no different. We already know that, for example, copper, these are just two. Copper and magnesium, we already know have a huge effect. When you see high iron levels, you likely see low copper and low magnesium. And those are two big ones, especially magnesium. So you can't go adding on supplements. What you need to do is add in natural foods that contain high amounts of naturally occurring minerals. So some examples would be, find some room here, eggs, eat the yolks, and get them from free-range chickens. So eggs, liver. I know liver is disgusting for most people. I just started eating it a few months ago. It is a challenge, but I can tell you, the first time after I had a liver, I felt better. I don't know how to describe it, almost like a buzz. So I kind of have to force myself to do it. I'll make a video on how I do it. It's not that bad once you do it a few times, but liver's a great one. Things like the raw honeys and any sort of fruits that have vitamin C are big. So any natural food is going to be a great option. But those are some heavy hitters as far as, and oysters. I almost forgot oysters. This one's going to be a struggle for me because I hate them. I've hated them since I was a kid, but these are literally like liver and oysters are kind of like Mother Nature's multivitamins. So, and the great thing is they have a whole bunch of minerals, vitamins, and they have them in the forms that your body can use. They have them in the ratios that are ideal for your body. They're just great foods to implement. So that's the three things. Don't be afraid to get rid of blood if the situation calls for it. Stop adding in extra iron and add in mineral-rich foods, not individual supplements. Not a good time to be adding in individual supplements. So let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, what you're doing, what your experience has been, if you think that iron levels are too high. It's really helpful for me to know when videos are resonating and helping people. So this went a little longer than I wanted it to. I tried to get through it quick, but hopefully you got some value from it. Again, let me know in the comments, and until the next one, this is Curtis Alexander. Thanks.